we started this out in about 3 months. We reached something like, we started with 0% accuracy. We reached 70% accuracy in about 3 months. So we're very, very excited that like it was going up and to the right. And then we hit this plateau right around 70. So it was like 30, 50, 55, 65, 70, 71, 69, 72, 70, like that kind of plateau. It was very weird. It was, we were on this curve and then the curve flattened out. We started to look into this data, and we realized something really interesting, which is that for a good chunk of the answers, we were getting different answers for the same question from different experts. For example, one expert would say that when a customer would ask, what's the right function call for this thing that I'm trying to do? One expert would say it's function call A, and the other expert would say it's function call B. We had a feedback loop such that when we get feedback from the expert, it would get back into the model. So the model got smarter over time. That's how we were able to climb to 70%. However, it turned out that this bit kept getting flipped from 0 to 1, like from function A to function B. And this was true for a lot of the remaining answers. So like most of the feedback that we were getting at that point conflicted with other experts. And then we reached out to these experts and I said, like, did you know that this other expert thinks that it's function A? And they were like, who's this other expert? They didn't even know the name. So these people had never met. They didn't know that they disagreed. And this was kind of eye-opening for me, because even though the team was highly trained, they were not geographically in one place. They were distributed around the world. And people in the office talked about things, but they didn't exactly like align on specific calls. Like that's kind of above and beyond the call of duty. So they were all sure that they were right. They were not aware that there was a dissenting opinion. And we kind of saw this as an opportunity. And the opportunity was, we basically brought these experts together. Hey, look, Bill meet Bob, Bob meet Bill. You guys have different views. Let's hash this out. Is it Formula One or Formula Two? And Bob and Bill went into a super deep discussion, including their domain expertise, which is not important for this call. But it was a non-trivial discussion. It took them a while to reach agreement, but eventually they reached an agreement. And then they were both very, very happy because they both they agreed on what it was and they respected each other, etc. And our idea was let's do this at scale. So we created a committee. The committee was essentially, you can self-identify. If you want to, if you care, if you really are the priest that's maintaining the purity of the temple, raise your hand, join the committee, and then you could really do it, not just for you, but for the whole company. So we got a couple of volunteers. The committee would basically look at only those cases where there were dissenting opinions. And we used AI tools to identify what the thresholds for what a dissenting opinion was. And then the committee would make sort of a determination, like it's method call A or it's method call B. Once the committee did that, something really interesting happened, Jeff, which is now we had a new source of truth, which was the committee. And that source of truth was actually more trusted than an individual. So before, when the model would say something, the individual expert that the model is serving had the final word that says it's correct or it's incorrect. They accept it or they reject it. If they reject it, they tell us why. But after the committee's in place, it's no longer up to that individual, because if the committee says that it's function call A and the individual is sure that it's function call B, they still cannot call the AI wrong. They have to take it up with the committee. It becomes a point of dissension with the committee. So it changed the center of gravity and the source of truth. That was very good for this client because it surfaced disagreements that were invisible, and it allowed knowledge to scale company-wide rather than be built up in silos in the brains of individual reps. It was also a little bit humbling for some of the reps, which, Jeff, I won't lie to you, was very satisfying for me. But nonetheless, the impact was that, maybe impact is the next question, but it really, separately from the cost savings, this kind of change to the process was, for me, the most interesting part of this project.